Changan is not exactly alien to Filipinos and Filipino roads. In fact, we've had a couple of them on our YouTube channel and on our web pages of AutoDeal.com.ph. And I'm talking about the CS35, the CS55, and the CS75. Find out more information about them by subscribing to our channel. But now, when we're talking about more premium Changan vehicles, they've actually decided to 86 the numbers and decided to stick with letters, such as the case of this, the Changan Uni-T. Now, it is spelled UNI-T, not conventionally like with the letter Y, which I think is okay. It's actually pretty cool because then it gives the chance for you and I to figure out exactly why it's priced at 1,679,000 Philippine pesos. Stick around on this episode of Behind the Wheel and let's find out together. Want tire blowouts and crashes like these. Ooh, that's nasty. Ooh, that's just wrong. Well, there's your problem right there. Then you better get a top tire like Aeolus. Now, with the current economic climate, you really want to maximize fuel efficiency and uptime of the vehicles, so make sure you invest in good quality tires. Tires can look nearly identical from the outside, yet have a disparity in price for a very good reason. It's what's inside that counts. I mean, look at the thicker steel gauges used and how meticulously and tightly bound together their beading is compared to, well, any generic tire. It's these details that are so important to the structural foundations of the tire. Operational since 1965 in 5 continents, multiple factories around the globe, and 2 state-of-the-art R&D centers that supply over 5 million tires per year, Aeolus officially acquired and welcomed the Pirelli brand into the Aeolus Group, a combination spearheading them into the top 20 brands of the world. If you own a small business and have a fleet of trucks, remember the following. Number 1, buy a good quality tire with a known brand and a history behind it. And number 2, keep tires inflated to the recommended pressures to prevent unnecessary stress on the tire's structure. These 2 factors alone will reduce your fuel consumption by around 10%. And finally, you'll have less tire blowouts and keep your trucks on the road for much longer, which is, of course, just good for business. Man's greatest invention may have been the wheel, but the tire made it better, and Aeolus can spell the difference of you being in business or out of it. Stay in business with Aeolus. Now, when this first appeared on our channel, a lot of people asked if it was an electric vehicle. I'm not gonna lie to you, even me, when I first saw it at the auto show, I thought it was really an electric vehicle, and I can't blame you because it does give off that electric vehicle vibe, especially with this grille that tapers all the way to the side. Now, we were talking about it that up front, the clip kind of looks like an Urus, somewhat of a Lexus, but Jack, Earl, and I figured that it actually resembles more a McLaren, especially with the DRLs found up here. Doesn't it? I know it gives you that kind of vibe. If you have another kind of vibe that you're seeing on this car, do please let us know in the comments below. But let's continue. So, like I mentioned, there are DRLs up on top. These are also your indicators. Found down below are your full LED headlamps right there, sensors on either side, wide angle camera up front, and then your radar sensors found down below. There is sort of like a small kink up front, as you can call it, this line right here. Now, most hoods, obviously, when you close them, it's flushed, but this one kind of sticks out. And to some OC people, yeah, you might be thinking that it doesn't close properly. But truth be told, it just adds a lot more character to the automobile. And it's got loads of it all over the car. But up here, it does well to sort of like be sort of like an excess in a good way, much like the grille is. Now, I did mention that I honestly think that it was an electric vehicle. It's not an electric vehicle, and I'm going to show you exactly how it's not an electric vehicle. If I can figure out how to open this guy. See, I told you, it eats dino juice. Anyway, Underneath, you've got a 1.5 liter blue core turbocharged gasoline engine. It's a 4-cylinder that produces 177 horses and 300 newton meters of torque, which is mated to a 7-speed DCT. More on exactly how it feels a little bit later when we go on a drive. But more importantly, you probably want to know fuel efficiency. Inside city traffic, you're doing roughly about 8 kilometers per liter. That can improve to about 11, a little bit more than 11 kilometers per liter when the traffic starts to ease up. Now on the highway, not ideal conditions, you're doing a little more than 13 kilometers per liter. But when the highway does open up, you can produce more than 16 kilometers per liter on this engine, which is actually not bad. Hey, I can close it. I'm not that short. Now, down the side, you've got disc brakes up front and at the rear. Now, if you come closer, you may actually think that the disc brakes are very small. The truth is, they're not. It's just because the wheels are so darn big. These are 20s. To put that in perspective, they're bigger than the tires, or rather wheels, on my Montero. These are the same size that you would find on the Everest, on a crossover. Ridiculous. So, as I mentioned, these are 20s. They are wrapped in 245 series tires, and not just any tires, Continentals. Good job, Changan. Continuing down the side, wait, I gotta stop right here. I need to apologize to our audience because the car is filthy. I do realize it's the tail end of summer, but we kind of had this car washed twice today, and you know what happens when you have a car washed, right? Yeah, so sorry about that. Anyway, to continue, you've got a beautiful, I don't know if I can see it, but you guys can see it. It's a blacked out roof. More on that a little bit later because there's more than meets the eye there. You've got repeaters on your side mirror, cameras on your side mirror as well, and then the black continues around the windows. Now, here's a talking point, because this is obviously piano black and it looks good, makes it look elegant. But when you put it in an area where you're going to be touching it a lot, like the door handles here that are found at the rear, much like you would find on an HRV, that I'm not too sure about. I am very sure about the fact that I like these flush door handles. You press a button and it comes out like magic. If I press it again, does it close? No, it doesn't. It just makes a horn sound. So obviously that opens the door. And then down below, we don't have the exact specifications of this automobile. We haven't received it from the manufacturer just yet, but I'm assuming that that looks like roughly about 170 millimeters of ground clearance, thanks to our very trusty and scientific way of measuring things. Size 8. Okay, good. Let's continue. On the side, you cannot miss this gorgeous, gorgeous kink that you see on the car. It is beautiful. And when you look at it at either this angle or the rear or the front, it just really looks spectacular. When you see it on the side view mirror, it looks good. It's so good that I dare say that it's like a beautiful person that walks by a crowd. While it's walking back, it knows that everybody is staring at the backside of this automobile because it is pretty. It's true though. You guys do it. I know you guys do. But it's true, right? It's like, I know they're checking me out. They're checking me out. Even the back, look at it. It's gorgeous. That kink on the side continues all the way to the rear and it looks really, really good. Now there's a lot of things going on back here and some might say it's a little bit too much. Allow me to show you. First of all, you've got this spoiler up here that I don't know if it makes sense or not. I mean, I'm not Adrian Newey, so I don't know what it is that I'm talking about when it comes to aerodynamics, but I'm pretty sure that this channel down the middle is not necessarily a good thing. But look at it. In general, that spoiler right there with the arc in the middle and whatnot just looks good. It really does look good. So do too the LED lights that are pretty sharp found at the rear. Even the reflectors on the side look good. If they were real lights, that would be awesome, but they are just reflectors. Then down below, you've got your fog lamp here, somewhat of a diffuser here, and yet another talking point, because these are actual exhaust tips.
They're not.
They are, because you can see the exhausts inside. Okay, come inside.
Exhaust, but it's not connected.
They're very tiny.
Yeah, but they're not so it's
but
not real.
But it's being used, and it looks good. Back away.
It would work
back away, Jack. Back away. Look at it.
Perfectly. It's not real.
Does the exhaust of the engine come out of these holes or not? Yes or no?
No, it doesn't. It comes out from there. It comes out from there, not here.
But does it come out of the hole?
no,
You're
it
lying.
doesn't
Look,
come out
it's
of the.
pointing
it comes out from there.
We can talk about this till the cows come home, but I'm telling you, the hole. It's not as if these holes are there for no reason, right? CO2 comes out of these holes, right? Now, while Jack continues to contemplate on his mistake, I will open this up and show you that the cargo space is not very, very large. It has a large opening and it's pretty wide, but it's not actually very deep. It can get deeper thanks to this false bottom here. The question is, however, will it fit a balikbayan box? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Will It Fit? Now, we know it will fit, but will it close? You've got 3 seconds to choose, 2 seconds to choose, 1 second to choose, yes or no, and the answer is, this is gonna be close. It closes properly and the balikbayan boxes does not touch the glass. Ah, you like that? How do you like them apples? Obviously, the cargo space will increase exponentially when you do fold the second row, which will then allow you to slide the boxes in. So in this configuration, and because of the width of the automobile, you might be able to fit a second balikbayan box here and a third, possibly, here at the rear. Now, the rear seats, gotta tell you, when you first get in, you feel quite low actually, and your knees come up pretty high, which means that the bench itself, the seat itself, is positioned quite low. This is Jack's normal driving position, and as a small adult myself, I have a decent amount of room. Not a lot of room, but a decent amount of room nonetheless. In the center, you have your air vent, that you have to fight over for the passengers in the rear. You have only one charging port, but you do have 2 cup holders in your center armrest. Now, the space is going to be possible for 3 adults. In fact, the headroom is not an issue at all, but you're probably better off with 2 adults back here because the seats are designed in such a manner that the 2 passengers back here are going to be very, very comfortable in the sense that you are bolstered very, very well. The bolstering is good, the leather is just okay. It falls in between premium and not so premium, so just in the center really. But I do like the red piping and the stitching that's found here on the backrest that I like very, very much. You also have isofix tethers found, or anchors, however it is that you call it, on the seats. You also have bottle holders on either door, which can accommodate plastic uninsulated 1-liter bottles very, very easily. But when it comes to the infamous bottle of Jack, okay, maybe not infamous, famous bottle of Jack, which probably has more fans than him and me combined, that guy will not fit. Neither will it fit in the center console. Now, this I want to show you. When I do close the door, you feel very snug inside the automobile, very protected, very inside. That is because this is very, very high. This belt line right here is very high. It's higher than my shoulder, actually. And it's...
The window is right at your eye line.
Is it? Oh my God, it is. I'm that tiny. So, for a person that might be claustrophobic, this might be an issue because the glass is actually very small. But if you're not claustrophobic, then you're okay because you feel snug. As a change, if you do feel a little claustrophobic inside the automobile, one great thing is that Earl's going to be a little bit delayed on this, but you do have a panoramic moonroof that stretches all the way to the rear that really lets a lot of light come in. And it's tinted well too. This is the black top roof that we were showing earlier. So it's actually a pane of glass, and that is very, very premium. This right here, this section right here, I don't know if you know this, but you noticed rather, but this is the spoiler that we were talking about out there. So the shape of the spoiler is actually in here. And those shapes continue too. Like on the door, you've got this S-looking thing here that mimics the shape. Even the key, I mean, look at the key, right? It mimics the shape of the spoiler. That's pretty nice. So yeah, 2 passengers, my size or maybe even Earl's size, somebody a bit taller, yes. But if it were Jack driving and then his size sitting behind himself, that might be an issue. But let's go see what the passenger, or rather the driver's seat's like. Okay, so up front, oh yeah, the bottles. Bottle holders do continue up here. The plastic 1 liter uninsulated bottle fits in the door, no issues whatsoever. Jack's bottle, not so much, but there is a spot underneath where you can keep these bottles if need be, right? Okay, so I'm just gonna turn the air on because it's a little bit warm today, so forgive me. Oh, thank you for
turned on air purification.
I'm trying to film here, but thank you for telling me that. Okay, let's start with what's on the dashboard. This little, it looks like a large case for sunglasses, really. It's just an indicator of, it kind of blinks, sort of like KIT, Night Industries 2000. It's got a blinking blue light there. But it does turn on when you turn your indicator on. Let's say if I'm going left, and it tells you you're indicating left and right. So it's basically just a mood light, and it doesn't disturb you much. And then when you do that, by the way, the cameras on the side view mirrors turn on. And when you indicate to the left, your camera activates when you're going slow and if there's something in your blind spot. And then when you indicate left, the camera turns on to the left. And when you indicate to the right, it shows you the camera turns on the right. These clusters right here, these screens, these are both a little above 10 inches each, both for your instrument cluster and your infotainment system, which is obviously touchscreen. It's just 2 screens that you've gotten accustomed to seeing in Chinese automobiles, which is actually very nice. It's a step up from the normal gauges that you see, and it makes it look really very, very clean. You have Apple CarPlay on this particular unit, the Uni-T, but you do not have Android Auto. So apologies to those that have Android phones. Continuing down, you have nice textures found down here below. It's actually pretty smooth. You'd think that it was actually ribbed, but it's not. It's actually quite flat, followed by your air vents found down below. And then your air controls, which are very nice. It's a brushed aluminum kind of a thing, but I like it because it's directly to your air right away. So when you get inside the automobile and it's hot, you can get your air controls right away. It does not have immediate controls for your audio other than the screen and maybe a button on your steering wheel. That's it. But at least you can get to your air very, very quickly. On your steering wheel, you have buttons for your driver assists, your lane keep assist, your adaptive cruise, and your cruise and whatnot, even a button for a WeChat. And then there's also a button here, which I'm going to try right now. It's supposed to be audio controls for your automobile, but I need Jack's help. So I'm going to press it.
Please continue.
Open windows.
Opening all windows.
Good job, Jack. Green star for Jack. I'm going to press it again, Jack, so can you close the window? Oh, wait.
Press again.
Here.
Close windows.
Closing all windows.
Yeah.
I opted for Jack's voice because it doesn't listen to a child's voice. It only listens to a manly man's voice, and that's why it operates when Jack turns it. Okay, on...
For now.
Shh.
Anything.
No, you can go to sleep, bro. Or girl. On the right side is the controls for your audio and your mobile device. Your phone actually can sit right here on the wireless charging pad. The issue is, though, that you can fit Pro phones in here. Plus phones, yes. The size of plus phones, yes. But if you have an ultra size phone, that unfortunately will not fit in the wireless charger. But you can still put it on this side right here. Here is where it gets really interesting. The gear lever is not actually a lever. It's more like a really, really huge button or knob or half button, half knob, joystick, lever, whatever it is. So this is it right here. It's got a continuing form right here. We connected to the buttons which are here for your camera. Obviously, you've got a 360-degree view camera, and you've also got active park assist. But here, to get to drive, what you need to do is obviously when you're stepping on the gas, or rather the brake, from park, you need to go once down to neutral and then once again to drive. So it's 2 clicks to get to drive and then 1 click to get to neutral. And then to put that guy into park, it's just basically the button on the left-hand side. Now, it's electronic, obviously. That might be an issue to some people, but I just like the fact that it looks different. It's quite unique. It's not as unique as, let's say, for example, other American automobiles where sort of like the knob turns upside down and it's crystal and whatnot, and it looks like it's part of a gold brick. No, not a Rubik. No, what am I trying to get at?
Art gallery.
No. What's the thing that it's a mouse strap and it's whatever? It knocks over one. Rubik Goldberg.
No.
Rube Goldberg. There, that's what the name of. I should try to get that. I actually like this because it's really quite unique. It's different to what it is that we've seen in our market. What is similar to our market is the DCT inside this automobile and the engine that is found up front. But how it executes it that's exactly what we want to find out right now. So please join us on this quick drive to find out the impressions of this automobile. But before you do, or rather before we do set on this drive, do consider liking and subscribing our channel because we create these videos just for you guys. When I first set off in the Uni-T, the first thing I wanted to pay attention to was the 7-speed DCT, because in the past, DCTs, they aren't the best of transmissions. But inside this automobile, it's actually very well executed. Not just when you're driving and the car is moving along, obviously, but even in traffic. There isn't that slow crawl that needs a little bit more power where you need to apply the accelerator, then it tends to jump forward, then you jump on the brakes immediately because you're trying to close the gap in traffic. No, it's behaving actually pretty well. I wouldn't say that it's behaving much closer to that of, let's say, for example, a 6-speed automatic transmission. No, there's still an advantage to those, I believe. But inside traffic and inside the city, this 7-speed DCT actually works very, very well. It's quite surprising. And then there's also the fact that if you need the power immediately, when you press the accelerator, the power is immediately there thanks to the fact that you've got 300 Newton meters of torque under the hood. So yeah, it's pretty good. Despite having all that power though, I wish I had a little bit more control in the form of paddles or perhaps a selector on the gear lever. Unfortunately, there are none. So when you're pulling out of, let's say, for example, a gasoline station and you accelerate by putting the beans into it, it accelerates actually quite quickly. It's powerful, it's smooth, it gets up to speed very, very quickly without any issues whatsoever. When you want to overtake, let's say, for example, at the speed limit and past the speed limit, that's when it just takes a little bit of time. The power is there. It's just that the CVT, or rather, sorry, the DCT is just plays up a little bit on you. But everything else prior to that, no issues whatsoever. Now, when you're on the highway, that said spoiler that I didn't know about aerodynamics or whatnot, it must work really, really well because at higher speeds, this car is absolutely stable and quiet too. Even with the 20s on, it's super stable. Like I said, quiet and comfortable as well. The wind noise isn't a factor at all. So the design on this car, not just it being really futuristic, they must have studied it really well because you don't hear a thing. You really don't. Road noise a little bit, but the wind noise, nothing. Even past 100 kilometers per hour, which I'm told I don't.
Roll the clip.
Don't roll the clip.
Speeding po, sir.
Steering is actually very good. The road is communicated to the driver pretty well, and you can actually change it. You can go from comfort to standard and sport. Comfort would be probably the lightest. Standard is just like any other car really, but it does tighten up a little bit. And then of course sport, where it's the weightiest of them all, where in that particular setting you really can feel that you've got 20s on. But if you stick it in comfort when you're stuck in traffic, you can still look like you've got 20s because you do, but then drive the car like you're driving a car with 18s on it, and that is really nice. Speaking of being able to customize certain things, you also have drive modes inside this automobile where you can put it in Eco, where it feels like you really can tell that it's a 7-speed DCT. You can put it into normal, or rather, yes, normal, which is what we've been driving on, and it's actually quite responsive already there, and I do enjoy the DCT in that particular setting already. But when you put it in sport mode, then obviously everything will obviously start to tighten up, the response is a little bit quicker, and my gosh, if the DCT worked really well already in normal mode, in sport mode, it's, well, I know it's overused, but it's a beast. 300 Newton meters of torque, yeah, it's a beast. We're not exactly in the mountains, but we do have some bends here inside the city, and when you take it at speed, the chassis feels like it really can take it, whether it's at mid speeds or even higher speeds. Combined with the Continentals that are on these things, my goodness, it feels like you can push the car even more. Like it can take, well, I don't want to say beating, but it can take the pressure and the turns and the G-forces. And the fact that you're sitting so very comfortable in these seats and they are very supportive, you're really in tune with the automobile. It's as if the car's saying, come on, drive me a little bit harder, drive me a little bit longer. I'm trying to say that without any innuendos whatsoever, and Jack is looking at me really badly. It's not, however, all sunshine and rainbows, because I did find a few things that were like, for the price of this automobile, come on, it should be there. For instance, there should at least be an automatic dimming mirror. Unfortunately, there isn't one. And then there's this one thing that I really did not expect in this automobile. The dash should be something that is clean, simple, and whole. Unfortunately, there's a gap here in the middle. There's a line here that makes me, it reminds me of Madonna's front teeth. It's just, it works on her, but it does not work on this material girl of a car. Come on, man.
Especially when it's at the center and you're looking at it.
Yeah. And it's not as if you're not going to see it either, because as you're driving, if you look at your instrument cluster, you'd be like, oh, there it is. I don't see it. Oh, there it is again. I don't see it. Oh, there it is again. Man. Also, the ADAS system inside this car, which is great, which can be found on the CS35, the CS55 as well, it's a little bit on the, shall we say, sensitive side. It works well when you're driving slow, but at higher speeds, it starts detecting things just a little too much and it starts to act up on you. So perhaps it may need some fine-tuning. It could be because that this particular unit is a demo unit at the moment and they're still trying to get all the quirks of this car out. It's not in transport mode anymore, mind you. It's on normal drive mode, because then you wouldn't be able to access the eco mode and the power mode and the sport mode and whatnot. So it does definitely need some refining, because we found that the sensors will just go ballistic if you're way too close to an automobile at certain speeds. And then, let's say, for example, the cruise control, the automatic follow and the lane keep, it has quirks about it that it shouldn't be there. Like, for instance, that it slows a little bit too much and it won't accelerate again when there are cars that are just past you already after slowing down immediately. So yeah, it needs to go to finishing school, shall we say. Then there's also the lane keep assist. Now, you may be familiar with it in other vehicles. It's just that in this car, it's actually quite intrusive in the sense that there is an option called correction. And if you're in that mode, my goodness, will it really correct you? Like a nun in boarding school when you're doing something wrong and she's got a ruler, whack! Because it's not just a warning, it's here, I'm gonna veer off, and oh yeah, it's pretty strong. The correction is actually very strong, to a point where you may feel as if that you need to fight it. So if it's something that you're not used to, you may need to, one, either get used to it, or B, switch it to just the warning mode. And that sister's discipline doesn't just stop there. It will discipline you yet again by cutting off your music and telling you to pay attention if even the blind spot monitors activate. Just blind spot monitors. Come on, man, I can listen to music and detect the blind spot at the same time. You don't have to turn my music off. Sorry po. For as much as the car has a lot going for it, it also has a bit of things going against it. So it's sort of like a plus-minus kind of a thing. But I will point this out, that you can add a patch to fix software problems, infotainment maybe even, but there's no patch for the drive of the automobile, the engine, the suspension, the ride quality, the chassis. And that in its own inside this automobile is good. The question, however, is all of that with its flaws and really its champions, is it really worth the price? So really, the big question is the price of the automobile. Is it worth it? It does have things that could use a little bit of work. The ADAS system, the gap inside the middle of the dashboard, you could use an auto-dimming mirror, maybe better leather seats for this price point. So yeah, it does have its drawbacks. But for the price that it's asking for, which is 1,679,000 Philippine pesos, we totally get the why. I mean, the chassis is good, the design is good, the engine is good, the suspension is good, the drive is good. The drive is good even it's got 20-inch tires. All of that in its package. When you step back and take it in as a whole, then yeah, we definitely get the why. For more information on the Changan Uni-T or any other Changan product, head on over to AutoDeal.com.ph or subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch more of our videos. And if you're interested, try the Get Quote button on our website because it is absolutely free. The car isn't, but the button is.